Hey guys, what's going on? Welcome to Hakuoki Kyoto wins. And actually, even before I even started this friggin' thing, I went to Edo Blossoms because I'm stupid. Because I was like, wait a minute, what am I doing? I forgot which friggin' game I was on. Alright, I quickly picked up on the notion that if I were to run, I would be killed instantly. Last time we left off, we met these three individuals. And these three individuals were hot! My goodness, they get you all hot and heavy. My life was in the hands of these strange men. I set my jaw and stood up as straight as I could. My eyes crept up from the blood-stained coat and met Saito's gaze. It would be best if you prepared for the worst. I doubt this will end well for you. His words were like a dagger in my stomach. What was going to happen to me? Was I going to die? As we walked through the bleak Kyoto night, I felt horror crawl its way up my spine once again. The cause of my horror wasn't the gruesome end that awaited me, but something else entirely. It was the intro sequence. I spoke with these men, and watched them speak, standing next to a warm corpse soaked in blood. That I had done such a thing terrified me in an altogether different way. Perhaps this is what it is like to go mad. And here we are. Chapter 1, 1864. Jan. Who's Jan? I mean, I know, it's a popular character from The Office, but I think I could be wrong about that. Was it morning? What happened to me? I attempted to recollect. I attempted to recollect myself. Yes. Right. All at once, the events of the previous night rushed back to me. This isn't my room. My limbs were snugly bound in tight knots, so all I could do was wriggle around in bed, twisting the blankets around me. I yearned for the comfort of my own futon, but the futility of such thoughts only forced me to confront the reality of my situation. Probably gonna be really jarring on you guys because I had this there and then I had it here and then jeez, what am I doing with you guys? If only I could wake from this strange nightmare. But I could not. Those men from the night before must have taken me with them to the headquarters of the Shin Sengumi. What will happen to me now? I inhaled deeply, lying down to await my fate. It was at that moment that the door slid open and a kind-looking man stepped through.
目が覚めたかい?
I see you finally awoken.
すまんな、こんな扱いで。今、縄を緩めるから少し待ってくれ。
This is no way to treat a guest of ours. Please wait. I'll loosen the ropes, alright? His smile quirked as he removed my ropes. My wrists, however, were left bound. And you are? And this is actually another one of my pet peeves. I know I said I had a pet peeve in the last episode, but this is another thing. Voiceless protagonists. I know you are supposed to be the protagonist, but I still would really like for visual novels to have an option to, turn on the protagonist or turn off the protagonist. I'm just saying.
ああ、そうか。私はね、井上源三郎というんだ。
Of course, how improper of me. My name is Genzaburo Inoue. Because it's imagine in the anime or in the in the movies that they've made for Hakuoki. Imagine if in those movies the main character didn't speak. It'd be pretty weird, wouldn't it? Thank you, Inoue.
さて、ちょっと来てくれるかい?
Now, if you would follow
今朝から幹部連中であんたについて話し合っているんだが。
They've been discussing what to do with you
ゆう
since
べ
morning.
あんたが何を見たのか確かめておきたいってことになってね。
For now, they decided to hear about what exactly it was you saw last night. Okay. I nodded curtly and struggled to stand, but my body was sore from being bound up all night. Inoue treated me with something like courtesy, but it was clear that I was in a lesser position. He must have been able to guess my thoughts, however, because he smiled at me and winked.
心配しなくても大丈夫さ。なりは怖いが気のいい者たちばかりだよ。
I know they seem scary, but they are all truly gentlemen. You don't need to worry. Oh. Even at home, I heard rumors of the vicious Shinsengumi that were unflattering. It was hard to imagine that the people in charge of such an organization were gentlemen.
一番年の若い東堂君は君よりちょっと年上くらいだよ。
The youngest man, Todo, is about your age, or perhaps slightly.
それに長倉君と原田君という賑やかな二人組もいるから大丈夫。
And there are a pair of guys named Nagakura and Harada who are very lively, so you'll be fine. Despite Inoue's reassurances, it was difficult for me to trust what I was hearing as accurate. Excuse me. Inoue led me to a room and opened the door. I stepped inside and found myself surrounded by the leaders of the Shinsengumi. Their eyes dug into me like sharp knives. I stared before me and then gulped nervously.
おはよう。昨日はよく眠れた？
Good morning. I take it you slept well? I love it. Dude, I just love. Oh, it's so good. Well, it wasn't particularly comfortable.
ふん、そうなんだ。
Is that so?
さっき僕が声をかけた時には、君、全然起きてくれなかったよね。
Because when I went to have a look at you earlier, you didn't budge, no matter what I did.
幸せそうな寝顔で、ぐっすりだったみたいだけど。
You were knocked out cold, and you looked snug and cozy in your sleep. What?
からかわれているだけだ。掃除はあんたの部屋になど行ってない。
He's only teasing you. Soji didn't go anywhere near you. Quite silent, I stared at Okita. With his grin still spread along his face, he glanced over to Saito.
もう少しこの子の反応を見たかったんだけどな。はじめくんもひどいよね。勝手にバラすなんてさ。
I just wanted to see you squirm a little. Not very nice of you, Hajime, calling me out like that. I don't think Saito did anything wrong. You, on the other hand, did something wrong. Shut it. You sound like a bunch of kids. Hijikata's voice broke no further insubordination. Okita shrugged and fell silent, but the smile lingered through his bright eyes.
土方さん、そいつが目撃者。
So, Hijikata, this is your witness? The man who spoke was... Well, he looked more like a boy than a man. Maybe this is the youthful Shinsengumi captain that Inoue was describing to me. I'd imagine the leaders of the Shinsengumi to be older, maybe even middle-aged men, but their faces were still blessed with youth. In fact, one might even confuse them at first glance for a gang of bohemian thugs.
ちっちゃいし細っこいな。まだガキだろこいつ。
He's a real stick, huh? Just a kid.
お前がガキとか言うなよ、平介。
You're calling him a kid, Heisuke? That's rich.
だな。世間様から見りゃ、平介もこいつも似たようなもんだろうよ。
Right you are. To anybody else, I'll bet you two look like a sad pair of scrawny little brats.
ガキ扱いしていいのは、俺みたいな立派な大人になってからだぜ。
I'm the only one who gets to call him out on being scrawny pucks because I'm a mature adult and all.
立派な大人って。まあ、新八が言っても説得力も何もねえがな。
Mature adult? Anything that comes out of your mouth is basically nonsense, Shinpachi. Two nearby men replied to Todo with very mocking, but light-hearted tones. I somewhat recalled Inoue's description of the two energetic members. His mention of them was brief, but seeing them in person was an eye-opening experience. He said the short-haired one was Nagakura, and the other, with longer hair, was Harada.
うるさいな。おじさん二人は黙ってなよ。
Leave off, you grumpy old bastards!
ふざけんなよこのお坊ちゃまが。俺らにそんな口聞いていいと思ってんのか？
The hell I will, boy. You think you can get away with talking to us like that?
平助におじさん呼ばわりされるほど年は食ってねえよ。シンパチはともかく、俺はな。
Besides, I'm hardly mature enough to be called old. Kenpachi maybe, but not
て
me.
めえ裏切るのか佐野。
You son of a bitch. I thought we were friends.
へへ、シンパッツァン図星されて怒るって大人げねえよな。
Come on, Sheen. Wouldn't Dill get so worked up over something like that? Their back and forth rapport seemed developed into a rhythm from years of friendship, which predated my arrival and made me foreign here. I sensed something apart from curiosity towards me, though, like a feeling of animosity. Of lust. Despite their cheerful levity, they had not forgiven my presence among them. Suddenly, I wanted very much to go home. I wanted to leave this place and never return. My chest tightened, and I stared down, hoping to wake up in bed with all this only a memory.
口さがない方ばかりで申し訳ありません。あまり怖がらないでくださいね。
I apologize for all this frightening behavior. Please don't let the men unsettle you. Oh. His voice was calm and warm, and I felt myself relax, even if only a little bit.
何言ってんだ。一番怖いのはあんただろう、三男さん。
Are you serious? You were the scariest out of all of us, Sanan. Sanan. As he finished speaking, the rest of the men nodded solemnly in agreement. Why did I speak? I spoke that out so cheerfully. What's wrong with me, dude? I wondered who could possibly command such fear and respect from these men.
おや、心外ですね。皆さんはともかく鬼の副長まで何をおっしゃるんです？
Oh, how crude. I can understand their feelings, but for our demon of a commander to feel such as
私
well.
はいつだって新選組の規範を第一に考えているだけですよ。
It is up to me to hold the integrity of the Shinsengumi to our highest standard.
その規範、ご法度を決めたのは土方君、君じゃなかったですか？
It is easy to be confused, however, when our standards, or rather our taboos, are at the mercy of our own, Ichikata.
確かに決めたのは俺だ。だが、今はそんなことを言ってる時じゃねえだろうな。
It is true, but now isn't the time to be talking about this. And the man called Sanan and Ichikata stared at one another with a smirk.
トシと三男君は相変わらず仲が良いな。
You're lucky to have a friend like Sanan, Toshi. Hijikata and Sanan sounded distant when they spoke to one another, not exactly friendly. Still, the man who spoke had certainly sounded as though he thought they were friends.
ああ、自己紹介が遅れたな。俺が新選組局長、近藤勇だ。
Oh, my apologies. I haven't introduced myself. I am Asami Kondo, chief of the Shinsengumi. When you say chief, do you mean to say you are the most important frick?
俺が偉いわけじゃない。皆の代表ということだよ。
Do you mean to say you were the most important man in the Shinsengumi? Well, I wouldn't call myself the most important. It is more accurate to say I represent everyone.
それからそこの都市が副長で、横にいる三男君は総長を務めていて、
Toshi over there is the commander, and Sanan is our colonel.
いや、近藤さん。なんでいろいろ教えてやってんだよ、あんたは。
Kondo, why are you telling him all this?
情報を与える必要がないんだったら黙ってる方が得策なんじゃないですかね。
Why? Do you think it's a bad idea? Well, unless you think this kid should learn our secrets, maybe you should keep your mouth shut.
わざわざ教えてやる義理はないと思うけど。
Exactly. Why bother anyway? We owe him nothing.
確かにそうなんだが、紹介しないことには話が進まんだろう。
Huh. Perhaps you all raise good points, but isn't it rude to ignore your guests? Haruta glanced over at Kondo and let out a bark of laughter.
ま、ここまで来たら知られて困ることもねえけどな。
True, we've already brought him here. But like telling him will hurt us. Kondo had looked rather disappointed when Hichikata spoke, but he perked up at Haruta's words. Despite knowing him for 5 minutes, it's easy to see that his words resonated well with his men. He had a sort of charisma that simply drew you in, a man who was impossible to hate.
本題に入ろう。まずは改めて昨晩の話を聞かせてくれるか。
Well, let's get back to the business at hand. Can you give me a full report of last night?
はい。昨晩京の都を夜間巡察中、不老の老師と遭遇。相手が刀を抜いたため、切り合いとなりました。
Last night we were on patrol when we encountered some wandering Ronin. They drew steel, so we fought.
一部の大使らが老師を無力化しましたが、その折、彼らが失敗した様子をこの者に目撃されています。
Some of our men subdued the Ronin, but in doing so exposed their failure. As he finished, Saito turned to look at me. I didn't see anything. Even with my insistence, Hijikata continued to stare at me with a harsh glance. Saito remained expressionless, and the smile on Okita's face didn't change.
なあ、お前本当に何も見てないのか?
Huh? You sure you didn't see anything? Yes, I didn't see anything.
見てないんならいいんだけどさ。
Really? Well, if that's true, then I don't see what the problem is.
あれ掃除の話じゃ、お前が大使どもを助けてくれたって話だったが。
Hold on a minute. I thought Soji said you would help out some of our men or something. No, that's not true. I glanced over at Okita, but his smile remained. Whatever he was thinking was a mystery to me. I was running away from the Ronin. Then some people with Sensengumi uniforms appeared. Really, they sort of rescued me.
つまり、大使どもが老師を切り殺してる場面はしっかり見たってわけだな。
Then that means you saw them slicing up those Ronin, right? I couldn't exactly deny that. However, I knew that choosing to stay silent would implicate me deeper than lying would. Why? My double click. So, in other words, you actually saw everything. The whole ugly business.
お前、根が素直なんだろうな。それ自体は悪いことじゃないんだろうが。
You've got an honest heart. Not really a bad thing, but... I wasn't sure what to make of Haruta's words. My presence seemed bad for the Shinsengumi. Would their next words be ones condemning me to death for being at the wrong place and time? My voice shook, but I knew I had to try. I won't tell anyone, I promise.
偶然老師に絡まれていたという君が私たちに敵対するものとまでは言いませんが。
It seems unlikely this attack was mere chance, yet it seems unlikely too that you're an enemy.
君に言うつもりがなくとも相手の誘導尋問に乗せられる可能性はある。
Despite your good intentions, you could be taken for interrogating. Could you handle torture? His voice was still warm. Imagine that, what happened? His voice was still warm, but his words were cold, and I began to feel my chances at life slip away.
話さないというのは簡単だが、この者が新選組に義理立てする理由もない。
Staying quiet is easy, but if you were captured, you would have no loyalty to us or our secrets.
約束を破らない保証なんてないですし、やっぱり解放するのは難しいですよね。
Yeah, we have no way of verifying your word. Wouldn't be very smart to just let you go.
ほら、殺しちゃいましょうよ。口封じするなら、それが一番じゃないですか。
Let's just kill the kid. You want to keep someone quiet? That's the only sure way. But...
掃除、物騒なことを言うな。お上の民をむやみに殺して何とする？
Don't be so cold, Soji. What do we gain by murdering a civilian?
そんな顔しないでくださいよ。今のはただの冗談ですから。
Oh, don't give me that look. I was just
あん
kidding.
たは冗談に聞こえる冗談を言え。
Perhaps it should have sounded like it. After being rebuked by Saito, Okita gave a playful smile.
しかしなんとかならんのかね。まだこんな子供だろう。
But surely there must be something we can do. After all, we're talking about a child.
私も何とかしてあげたいとは思いますが、うっかり漏らされでもしたら一大事です。
I've no wish to kill him either, but ignoring the unlikelihood of his trustworthiness is foolish.
さて、私は副長のご意見を伺いたいのですが、いかがですか、土方副長。
Well, I would like to hear the commander's opinion. What do you say, Commander Hijikata? The men looked at Hijikata, listening intently. He sighed and glanced around the room.
俺たちは昨晩指導に背いた大使を粛清した。こいつはその現場に居合わせた。
Last night we killed members who broke our code. This kid should not have been involved at all.
それだけだとおっしゃりたいんですか？
I imagine that puts an end to the matter for you.
実際このガキの認識なんざその程度のもんだとは思うんだが。
Well, he probably saw something, but I doubt he really understands what it was.
けどよ、こればっかりは大義のためにも内密にしなきゃなんねえことだよな。
Even so, this is serious. We have bigger things to consider. We have to keep this under wraps.
新選組の大使は血に狂ってるなんて噂が立ちゃ、俺らのタイムにだって支障が出るぜ。
If rumors break that soldiers of the Shinsengumi are thirsty for blood, it would be problematic. Shinpachi's words made sense to everyone. Hijikata's face looked grim.
おい、言葉を慎め。俺は指導に背いた大使を粛清したと言ったはずだぞ。
Hey, watch your mouth. It is our responsibility to regulate all warriors who violate our code. They will be dealt with.
でもまあ、どっちみち見たことは変わらないんですけどね。
Well, it doesn't change the fact that this kid saw something.
掃除の意見にも一理あると思うが、まあ、俺は土方さんや近藤さんの決定に従う。
I think Soji has a point, but still, I'll do whatever Hijikata and Kondo tell me to.
俺は逃がしてやってもいいと思う。
I think we ought to let him go.
こいつは別に
He doesn't know everything, and I don't know how to not double click, you know? What do you mean, everything? I couldn't help but wonder aloud, and the mood in the room shifted to an icy silence.
エースケ、
Shut it, Heisuke. No, frick. What the? Dude, shut it, Heisuke.
悪い。
Ugh. Oops, my bad.
ああ、これでますます君の無罪放免が難しくなっちゃったね。
Uh-oh. Well, this is going to make it even harder for us to simply let you go.
男子たるもの死ぬ覚悟くらいできてんだろ。お前も諦めて腹くくちまいな。
A man should always be ready to face death. You should make your peace with yours. A man? Oh, that's right. They still believed me to be a boy. With everything else that had happened, I had completely forgotten how I was dressed.
確かに潔く死ぬのも男の道だな。俺も若い頃は切腹したし。
Very true. A brave death is always an option. When I was young, I committed honorable suicide.
サノの場合、まだ生きてるけどな。
You didn't really stick though, did it, Sano? Their jokes were barbaric, but they both broke into raucous laughter.
副長、結論も出ないことですし、一旦このものを部屋に戻してはどうでしょうか。
Commander, since we can't seem to reach a consensus, can I send the child back to his room? This whole situation is very like, you know, Oron high school host club kind of thing, like that whole, you know, the whole misunderstanding kind of trope thing.
同席させた状態で誰かが機密を漏らせば、処分も何、
If you hear
殺す
some...
ほかなくなります。
He talks so long, dude. If you hear something you shouldn't while you're here, then we'll have no choice but to kill you. He was right. If I remained with them, then I could easily hear something I wasn't supposed to. I didn't think he'd mentioned it for my sake, but rather as a possible concern for their group. I was still relieved when he brought it up.
そういうことにするか。ちょっと調べたいこともあるしな。
Indeed, let's do that. Plus, there's something I want to look into.
私もその判断には賛成しますよ。
I
ここ
agree.
には迂闊な方も多いですしね。
There are too many careless men here.
三男さん、わざわざこっち見て言うとかきついよ。
Come on, Sanan. What are you looking at me for?
まあ仕方ねえよ。迂闊なのは俺らの担当だろう。主に平助とかな。
That ought to be pretty obvious. We're all guilty of being careless, especially you, Heisuke.
そんな責めるなよ。俺だって悪気はなかったんだからさ。
Hey, back off. It was just a minute, alright? A mistake, alright? A minute? How did I get a minute? It was just a mistake, alright? I could hear Toto's voice rise as everyone turned to look at him. He looked at them for a bit, then turned to me and mumbled in a voice I could barely hear.
あのさ、悪かったな。
I'm sorry. I was still apprehensive about what they might do to me, so I couldn't respond to him well. But he seemed to understand, and I curtly managed to nod. It was the most I could manage.
それじゃ斉藤、こいつを頼む。
Alright, Saito. Take care of the
承知
kid.
しました。行くぞ。
Noted. Shall we go? Alright. Hey. And I think we're done. Should be about, 20 something minutes. 20, 25, 26, something like that. So, yeah, we still haven't come across a choice in this game yet, but we're getting there. I think the next episode we'll get to our first choice in this game, and that's gonna be really cool. We're gonna be able to finally kind of get into a route. We're gonna lock ourselves into a route at some point. All right. That being said, have a great day, night. Woof.